You can only ask so much of a man, but a man can ask so much more of himself. And that summer, I determined that I was never going to be in that position again, to let my team down. Crying, I was bawling. It wasn't really about the girl. I did feel bad because she was a friend, and that in that space, I finally understood what it meant to surrender.
2 chapters every morning with some prayer to start my day and end my day. And then I'm trying to just keep God in my mind and my purpose being my main driving factor.
It's one book that I think you could spend your entire life reading, and there's new, fresh insights and relationship. It's really about relationship with God.
Hello and welcome to the Harmonized Podcast, where we learn about the interconnectedness of the mind, body, and spirit. Today, we're joined by Siddeeq Shabazz, who's a retired NFL player, and today we're going to be talking about his 3 different stages of life and his mindset throughout this progression and through these different stages, and what ultimately led him to be faith-centered. And if you get some value from this podcast, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and share this video to help us reach a larger audience. But without further ado, Siddeeq Shabazz, welcome, brother. It's an honor to have you.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for the invite, and looking forward to the conversation.
You got it, man. Well, why don't we start off with your story? Where'd you grow up?
So I'm from Chaparral, New Mexico.
Okay.
That's where I grew up. I was born in Germany and moved to Chaparral. Most military brats, they have these cool places they've been to. I was born in Germany and then straight to Chaparral.
Chaparral.
The rest of my life until I moved out here to Las Cruces.
Wow. Right on.
Yep.
So what brought you to LC?
School. So I came to college here back in 1998. So this has been home off and on, but mostly on for most of my life since coming out for college in 98.
Right on. And I'm assuming football came with the school?
Yeah, so I wasn't originally planning on playing football, but I had some high school coaches who convinced me that I should walk on. Nobody was really giving me any scholarships or anything. I played my freshman year, then I played my senior year in high school, so I didn't have a big background in football. I was kind of still very green and didn't have a whole lot of good stats. I was small. I was 5'11", 145 pounds my senior year. So I don't know what these coaches saw in me, but I'm so thankful that they encouraged me to walk on to NMSU.
Wow.
Really changed my life in a lot of ways. But I think football was something that I was always passionate about as well. So maybe that's what they saw as that passion that, like, from the time I was 5 years old and we first started throwing the ball in elementary school before school would start, it was just something that I've always loved. I still, to this day, if somebody has a ball, like, I'm the guy I'm not going to quit. I'm never going to be done throwing the ball around. Somebody else is going to finish before me. It's just, I don't know what it is about the game, but I have some suspicions about, like, what it is, like, just how hard it is. It's a team environment. You're never just the absolute best, right? There's always room for growth, and something about it spoke to my heart. Also, I was an angry kid, so got to let out a lot of my aggression on the football field, and so I think I'm still passionate. I still love it. I don't watch it. I loved playing it. It wasn't something that I grew up watching, so also, like, just having a good football mind wasn't something that I had, but these coaches encouraged me to walk on, and that's a cool story in itself.
Yeah.
Something that I like to talk to people about, especially, like, when you get into industry, you get into the business that you're doing, you find people who it's a job and they just show up and they do the work, and then you find people who have passion for what they do, right? And oftentimes you find people who it's like, why are you here? And I had 3 guys at Gadsden High School. I'm not sure if you're familiar with.
Yes, sir.
In Anthony, New Mexico. These Las Cruces schools would whoop up on us. We were like, nobody cared about us. But on that coaching staff, I had one of the guys who talked me into walking on, and that actually helped me out later on in my career was he had played at New Mexico State. He was a strong safety, had a shot at the NFL, but he blew his knee out. He ended up being the connection to my agent, who ended up getting me all of my contracts. And I don't think there's anybody who played on more professional teams than me. I was on 11 different professional teams in 8 years. So that's a lot of times being fired, a lot of times like building yourself back up after being told that you're not good enough. But it was also, he had great relationships and was able to get me opportunities. So he was somebody that pushed me. And then there was a guy, Roy Jarella. He's a 3-time Super Bowl champion, was at Gadsden High School he was a kicker for the Steelers and has 3 Super Bowl rings. And he was a coach. He was my special teams coach at Gadsden High School. And then the third guy was Henry Schroka. I think he had been at UTEP. He came to Gadsden for a little while. Now he's like one of the most decorated scouts for the Dallas Cowboys.
Wow.
Like he's been there for like 20-something years. Pretty wild. And it felt like there was something about those guys that they weren't from Gadsden. They didn't grow up in that environment where people might have a limited perspective on what's possible, right? And they saw something in me that it wasn't my size, it wasn't my speed, it wasn't my knowledge of the game, but they saw something that told them to pour into me a little bit and push me to walk on to NMSU. And I walked on, and there were a lot of other guys who walked on and quit after a few years, but I stuck it out. I think that might be something personal to me or something about my upbringing that helped me to. 3 years I wasn't a starter. I didn't start until I was 20 years old. It was the first time in my football career that somebody said, "You're the best, you're the guy," and gave me the opportunity to start at New Mexico State. So started playing when I was 10, and it wasn't until 20 that I knew that I was the guy, you know.
Wow. So, quite the journey.
Yeah. And I told you coming in that I've kind of lived 3 different stages of my life, and that was the first one, and kind of helped me to develop my idea of what it takes to be successful. And passion is one of my 3 P's to success, and just that pure love for football, and just what it means to me, that I think it gives you that ability. So there were so many guys that quit, that had walked on and that were on the sidelines. And for me, I loved it so much, and I loved getting better at it. So there was always somebody that I was chasing to get a little bit better, and I could see the progress, right? And we had a great strength and conditioning coach. He wasn't your typical football strength and conditioning coach. He was more of a book nerd. And he taught us technique, and that helped me out a lot because I was a smaller guy. I needed technique. I needed to know the fundamentals, and those fundamentals, I think, are what carried over to a great career in college and going into being able to play in the pros.
Absolutely. I can totally relate there, man. I was small myself. I wasn't the biggest, wasn't the fastest, wasn't the strongest. So I had to learn that technique in order to compete. Yeah. So that's where those nerdy guys can come in and help show you how to get the upper hand.
For sure.
But yeah, no, and I grew up playing football as well from fourth grade all the way up through high school. We ended up winning the state championship my senior year. So that was
high school?
Hatch Valley.
Okay.
So it's a smaller school, but still that was like the peak of our high school moments, you know. So I've got a strong passion for football as well. So
you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
Like the smell of cut grass makes you want to put on a helmet and go.
Oh yeah. So
cool.
Yeah, right up your alley there, man. But what was the walking on process like for someone that may not know? Maybe there's a guy in college right now and he's thinking about walking on to a football team. What does that look like?
I think it's completely changed now in this era of name, image, and likeness and transfer portal. I think the way that I think the numbers have changed, how many people they have on a roster, and also the expectation that that everybody gets paid equally now. I think changes like that walk-on status. I was actually helping a young guy I met just in the gym here. I work out at the AC here at New Mexico State. So I met a guy who was planning on walking on, and I was trying to talk him through it, but I didn't know what it looks like now to really walk on in that sphere. And what I think is walk-ons aren't the same as they were when I was there. So back then they would have about 15 guys that they didn't offer a scholarship. So I was working, paying for school. I had some academic scholarships, which helped out. But now I think people are getting sued for not paying these student athletes who are there contributing to the university. So for me, it's like you don't have a guarantee. You don't have any support with your schooling, with your academics, or just paying for tuition and fees and stuff like that. And with the hope of earning a spot, right? And they're bringing in the guys that they like, and you're there kind of a warm body wherever you're needed. I came in thinking I was a defensive back, and first day I was playing receiver because there were no other receivers in camp before the older guys came in. Then I moved to running back, and it wasn't until I think my third year that I ended up moving to defensive back and earning a scholarship.
And that's when you became the starter?
It took another year. So I was on the sideline for 3 years. I redshirted my first year, ended up playing special teams those next 2 years. And then that fourth year, I had a full-out battle with two other guys, same size, same speed, almost the same guys, and won out that battle like right before that. It was my redshirt junior year, so my fourth year was my junior year as a player, and had 2 years that I got to play as the starter. You
said a battle. What type of battle are we talking about?
Man, we didn't. So normally spring ball, you have spring ball the spring before the next season, and normally that's where they kind of iron it out who's going to be the starter. We were just rotating. The three of us were getting equal reps. Nobody knew who it was going to be. Free safety, on the other hand, he was a guy who was getting playing time since he got here the same year as me. So his spot was locked down, but between the three of us, it was up in the air up until really it was like 2 weeks before the season started. So we went through all of two-a-days summer, like right before the fall season started, and they announced it like at the end of two-a-days that I was going to be the starter. So it was crazy, but also I think it was something that was unique to me was I never got to arrive even when I arrived. So
what do you mean by that?
Every minute that I'm on the field, I know that there's two guys that are right at the same level as me, chomping at the bit to get on the field. So any mistake I make, any injury that I get, like there's going to be two guys that could easily step in and do a great job. So I think that helped me. A lot of guys kind of rest on their laurels. I was battling for that spot every day. You know what I mean? So I could never just arrive. And I saw a lot of guys who had much greater talent, much greater, like just God-given gifts of height and speed and ability, or just natural understanding of the game that didn't make it to that next level. And I think it's because they had been good their whole life. They had been told that they were great, and they didn't have to battle as hard as I did just to earn the spot and then keep the spot. You know what I mean? So it was a blessing, but it was definitely a lot of pressure every day, and just keep taking care of my body. You're into health and wellness. I went like 20 years with no real injury. I had one bad ankle sprain that I missed a game in college, but other than that, I kept my body as healthy as possible.
That's awesome.
Didn't have pulled hamstrings, didn't have a lot of the injuries. I played through a lot. I finally retired when I was like, I cannot get myself ready for practice anymore. And I knew that when I couldn't practice, I always believed you play how you practice. And if I couldn't get up for practice, I was 30 years old when I retired, and I was like, and I was in Canada where it's cold, and all those old injuries, they hurt a lot more in the freezing cold, the bitter cold. Yeah.
Right on. So what was it like playing safety, man? I played safety my freshman and sophomore year. I loved it, bro. Loved it. They moved me. I got moved to defensive end my junior and senior year, which I did not love, but I had to take on blocks so the safeties can make the tackles,
Yeah.
But they brought in something my freshman year that absolutely changed the game for our safeties. And they moved us in to 10 yards. Previously, we were backpedaling on the snap, So they moved us into 10 yards, and we were reading linemen, reading tackles. If we see a run block, we're filling at the line of scrimmage. So we became an extra set of linebackers.
Yeah.
And it was so fun, bro. You get an outside toss. You see that hook block. It's like, oh, tackle for a loss.
Yeah.
I'm coming. Meet him at the line.
Nice.
Loved safety.
Yeah, so that's strong safety. I played in the box a lot more than the free safety. At New Mexico State, it was a lot of cover two, so a lot of backpedaling and stuff. But I feel like it was the position I was made for. Like, I was fast. Like, I was always typically one of the fastest guys on my team. That junior year forward, I'd gotten fast. I wasn't fast when I got there.
Oh, wow.
I ran a 4.8 40 my freshman year. I remember one of my buddies was a fullback, and we ran the same time. He was from Mayfield, and I was so like, I don't know, I was distraught as a defensive back, as light as I was. Yeah. This big, heavy fullback, I ran the same speed as him. But by the time I got to my junior year, I ran a 4.29 handheld.
Wow.
By the coaches. So I was always the fastest guy, but I wasn't as agile and athletic as a corner. So I was faster than most of our corners. But so coming downhill on run plays, a lot of my highlights are getting into the backfield and chasing guys down and stuff like that. I love to hit people. So it was the perfect position for me. I don't think I would have done well at any other position, really.
Wow.
Sometimes I think about playing running back. Like, I probably would have done pretty good if I stayed at running back, but I think strong safety was my spot.
Awesome. You said you improved your 40 time from a 4.8 to a 4.29?
Yeah.
How'd you do that?
I think it was mostly like I got big. I went from 165 pounds. So that summer I put on 20 pounds. I was working out a lot, and I think I grew. I was a late bloomer. So by my junior year, I was 205 pounds.
Whoa.
And like I was pound for pound the strongest guy on the team. I was power cleaning a whole bunch, squatting like 400s. And I think we did it weird because he was a science nerd. He didn't want us doing 1 rep maxes. We would do like 3 to 5 reps, and he would calculate our max.
Nice.
So I think it wasn't like, now looking at the guys, they've gotten so much bigger, faster, and stronger. Like safety's my size, they're squatting 550, 600 pounds now. I was squatting like 450. I can't remember all the numbers, but
with all the new technology and knowledge, people are definitely developing quicker.
And just how early they're starting to start training and stuff. I didn't really start training until I was in college at a high level.
For sure.
But I think it was that strength increase. I just worked on it. I worked on it all the time.
Strength led to your speed.
Yeah, for sure.
I was thinking maybe more like some flexibility type stuff.
I also started working on flexibility. You had Enrique on here last podcast. I think. His older sister was getting into Pilates at the time. She was a softball player at New Mexico State. I think she was a year ahead of me maybe, or the same year as me. But she had started getting into Pilates and taught me some stretches that I was super tight going into my junior year. But she taught me these stretches that I started doing and started feeling better. And I kept doing that. So flexibility, strength, and honestly, like my freshman year, I started using, Enrique was talking about this when he was on last podcast, those jump soles. So I had got some jump soles. My older brother was a personal trainer, and he had given me some. And like we'd finish practice, and I'd go home, and I'd be jump roping with the jump soles on, doing high knees, doing all these plyometrics, trying to improve my speed. So I put in some extra work specifically to get faster, stronger, and I think it just all added up.
No, I think speed is definitely one of those things that sets you apart in football, because football is about collisions, and a collision, or your momentum, is mass times velocity.
Yeah.
So you can either increase one or the other or both. And it sounds like you increased both.
I increased both. And really, that's what helped me is like, I used that momentum. Like sometimes I'd miss and it would suck, but most of the time I'd come in with as much speed as possible. So if they were small, I was gonna hurt them because I was a lot stronger than people my size and smaller. But if they were bigger, I'd just try and get there before they got their momentum moving.
Absolutely.
And hit them as hard as I could, and that was kind of my thing.
Right on. What are those jump soles for people that didn't see the Enrique podcast?
Jump soles, I don't even know if they make them anymore. I don't even know if they're even safe. But it was just this big platform. Back then, you would strap them on over your shoe, and it just had this extra platform that just made you up on your toes. So you would do all sorts of. They had, I think the brand might have been Jump Sole, and they had a whole like workout routine to help you improve. It was mostly about your vertical, but help improve your vertical. All of that explosive power is going to help you with your speed as well. So I think between that and then one of my brother's girlfriend was in track, and I used to go do some track workouts with her in the off season, running the stadiums at NMSU and stuff. And I think all of that helped, but that's what they are, just these platforms that put you up on your toes.
Right on. Are there any other exercises that you did that improved your explosiveness?
So, I think power clean and squat are the most important things for an athlete to do. And I see a lot of athletes lifting like bodybuilders, and I think it's the wrong thing for athletes to do. I try and convince them to move more like an athlete. And I think just the explosiveness that you get out of the power clean, if you learn how to do it right, I think it just that carryover to extending your hips and just having that power through your hips, I think is important. And then squatting, I learned 2 different ways to squat. So a low bar squat, where most people feel uncomfortable when you rest it on the, you create a shelf on the back of your shoulders. It's really a muscle. You have to develop the muscle and push your arms back. It often feels like it's going to fall off your back, but if you can put it down there, I just noticed that when I squatted that way, it hit my hamstrings, my lower back, all the things that I needed, that I felt when I was sprinting in track, right? Those same muscles were engaging, and they weren't engaging if I do a high bar. That's more of a quad dominance type of movement. So it felt like the low bar squat is an athlete squat. You can't go butt to ankles with that low bar, but it stretches out your hamstrings, and I think it puts you into that athletic position where your feet are open wide, shoulder width apart, your butt is back, like your stance as a linebacker that you're going to get in, or as a DB, just moving one foot back. I think it increases your power in a very athletic way. So to me, those are the most important. That, and like another thing you see bodybuilders do is isolating parts of their body and not getting that functional movement. I like to lift without a weight belt. So I engage my core and I use my core as part of the pillar, and it's strengthening when I'm doing my deadlifts, even at a heavy weight. I feel like I've built up my core to a point where, like, I don't do a whole lot of, I just started doing more core because in my old age, I'm feeling like my hip flexors and psoas, abdominal muscles are probably what's holding me back right now. I think they used to just be strong naturally, but now I think they're getting fatigued when I'm running 100 meters. So I compete in Masters track right now. I didn't say that. But in competing this last season that just finished, I wasn't able to get to where I was before I injured myself 2 years ago. And I'm thinking it's those ab muscles that I have to develop. I've never really worked my abs, but always had a six-pack because I was lifting in a way where I was engaging my core. And I think that came from martial arts too.
I love that, man. And I've just discovered the core brace this last year, maybe about a year or two ago. Changed the game.
Yeah, and as an athlete, being able to do that, like going into impact and having your core engaged versus just running into somebody, I think it's a total different game. And that's why, as a small guy, I was able to take out a lot of big guys. And I think I learned it in martial arts, really. Is like how to engage your core. And like you hit from your core is what we were taught at a young age. My stepdad was a martial artist, 8th degree black belt. And so from a young age, we were always in class learning that type of stuff.
Which martial art?
So he was a part of a group. It was called Shinji Matsu. I think it was like a mix of all different disciplines. So we never really learned one specific discipline. It was like self-defense mostly.
Okay. Kind of like MMA-ish? No?
Not at all like MMA. It was more, I don't know. I moved away from it. Some of my younger brothers competed or kept up with it after high school when we weren't forced to do it anymore. For me, it wasn't something that I loved, but I know looking back now that it helped me out a lot in my athletics. So it was like we would learn katas, we would learn self-defense, but it wasn't anything like there wasn't a program where you learned certain moves and stuff like that. So we weren't grappling or anything like that. That's why I say it was way different than MMA.
Gotcha.
But we were all good fighters. I know that.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, no, man, the core brace, dude,
Where'd you learn that?
I learned it from a online program it's called Move You, and I found it, I was trying to fix my flat feet.
Oh, okay.
So it was a program on how to fix your alignment. So he talks about that with the shoulder scoop, getting your shoulders back, tucking your chest in, and working with your hips and the psoas. Dude, I learned so much from that course. It was insane, dude. But the biggest takeaway was that core brace, and there's levels to it. Like the first thing I did was just like squeezing your abs, right? And then I realized, hey, I'm neglecting 50% of my core here. I need to squeeze my lower back into the abs. And then you got forces coming from both sides. And then I unlocked the psoas, which I didn't even know existed.
I heard that masseuse. Was she a massage therapist?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, talking about
she was the one that introduced it to me.
Okay.
And it changed the game. Changed the game. As it gave me more control of the core through my feet, connecting that to the psoas into the core. Man, it's been an interesting journey, man. But
is it helping out with your feet?
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's absolutely cool. Yeah, now I can feel a connection from my big toe all the way up to my inner hip. And because I had flat feet, my feet were sagging like this, so my inner hips were sagging.
Sorry.
You're good. So my inner hips were sagging. And now I can use those toes to lift the inner hips, and now my hips can be more balanced. And with that balance, it's starting to level out everything else, like my shoulders, my neck, all that. But it's been an epic journey, man.
That's pretty cool.
There's so much, like you said, you can learn forever.
Yeah, and I think for us, like it was more just getting in a horse stance and like somebody pushing on you, and it's just more natural. We didn't learn all the science behind it, but I can see like being in a horse stance and trying to throw a punch into something without losing your balance. You're engaging all of those muscles, so
that's cool.
Kind of cool. Yeah.
Right on. So you're in college, you got that starting position, and you had 2 years as a starter. What happened after that? So
that first year, led the team in tackles. I think I had 120 something tackles. That first year starting, and then that second year, I think I was like 98. I didn't quite get 100, which is a good thing. When your safety's making all your tackles, you're not doing it. So my senior year was a little bit better team-wise. But with that, like going from playing special teams, there's another lesson kind of learned along the way that is impactful for me. People often ask, like, what's my favorite play in my career? And it goes back to that junior year, first time starting. I used to just be like a track athlete. I'd run down on punt or kickoff and make a play, and I'd get to rest. My junior year, they didn't take me off special teams, and I liked it, actually, because I loved being on the opening kickoff to kind of set my pads, settle my mind before we start playing defense, because it always felt like you needed to get hit once before you were ready.
Those jitters.
Ready to play. And so I liked running down on kickoff. But by midway through that season, like playing a whole season, for the first time really ever like that like my body was beat up. And I remember we used to battle. We were pretty good. We had 2 good seasons those 2 years of mine. But we would battle like some of our conference, like they would be real close luckily we had a great kicker, Dario Aganaga, back in the day. He won so many of our games just by a field goal. But I think it was Arkansas State. It was near the end of the season. These are the games that matter. And I remember the game was coming down to the wire. We were back and forth. And I remember just praying, like, please don't come at me. Like, I was like, my shoulders were so hurt. I was so exhausted. I knew that if it came down to me making the play, I didn't think I had it in me to win the game. And luckily one of our linebackers made an interception. I don't know if he took it back for a score or whatever, but it pretty much sealed the game. And I remember going home after that game and just feeling like I let my team down, even though we won, like as a leader on the team and supposed to be the guy on the team. Like I wrote down, I think I found the piece of paper. I had a little piece of paper, the only quote that I've ever made up. I said, you can only ask so much of a man, but a man can ask so much more of himself. And that summer, I determined that I was never going to be in that position again, to let my team down. And every practice I was trying to throw up. I was trying to get myself. I have a strong. I don't have a weak stomach. I don't throw up very often, and I was trying to push myself all that.
Every bit of effort.
Yeah, and like just making the most of it because I didn't want to be in that position again. And so then my senior year, we're at home against, I don't know if it was them, it might have been Louisiana Monroe, actually. We had a packed stadium. We were going back and forth, and I think we threw an interception. And it's right at the end of the game. Half the stadium leaves. They think the game's over. It pretty much is. They just have to run out the clock. But my thing was, as a defense, we run out on the field. I'm the first one out there. No matter what just happened, we're still going to play. That's why I got a lot of my tackles, I think, that first year, is because if we're on the field, we're playing balls to the wall. We're going to try and hurt them. Like, I'm not going to let one man beat me just because we're losing. Like, I'm still going to win my battles. They threw a screen to this big tight end. I'm 20 yards away from him, right, backpedaling, and they throw the screen, and he's running up the field. He gets like 20 yards, and I'm coming, and I just run at him as fast as I can, hit him as hard as I can. Neither of us go down. I hit him, but the ball drops. I land on the ball. We go down. We score. We win the game. The fans that are left, some of my roommates, end up pulling down the goalpost, taking it to the duck pond in the middle of campus and dumping it there. It was like one of the best wins. It wasn't a great, like, the play doesn't look very great, right? Cause a fumble, get a fumble, but just going back to how I felt the year before and just like I let my team down, but realizing that I could train a little bit more, I could train harder, and just being able to help win that game was just a cool understanding of, like, coaches never knew how much effort I was giving. And that's what that quote came from, is like, I could play it off like I was tired and just get by. And I determined that last year it was me against me now. It wasn't me against my teammates or anybody else, because I hated that feeling of not being able to finish a game.
That's powerful, man. That was your redemption play right there.
Yeah. So then I got drafted. So that was what happened after college.
Okay.
I was like looking at the safeties. The only safety that I saw that looked better than me was Troy Polamalu, who came out my year. He was
really
way stronger. Like, I knew he was squatting 600 pounds, benching 400 pounds, and I was nowhere near that. Nobody else on the list of safeties that came out that year I thought were better than me or had a better shot. And I was projected to go in the third or fourth round, which would have been pretty. It's a significant difference. But I had gotten into some trouble in my sophomore year. I think I was 18 years old, first time as a man out on my own, and relationship issues. And I got into some trouble that came up every time I would talk to one of the NFL teams. They were asking about this situation, and I think it dropped my draft place all the way to the 7th round. But I ended up getting drafted by the Oakland Raiders in the 7th round. It was awesome. One of the biggest, most impactful things that's happened in my life. Then 2 weeks later, I had my first kid. So that whole senior year,
wow,
I'd found out that one of the girls I was dating was pregnant, and started trying to make my mind up about living differently and trying to take care of. Mostly it was about my kid, this kid that I was bringing into the world. I wanted to do right by her. Couldn't do it. I failed at it miserably. But I don't know. So those are two huge things. Being a father trumped
being drafted.
Being drafted.
Really?
But yeah, both of them brought tears to my eyes, but one, it just felt like so much more meaningful.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
That's powerful.
And having that, like, them happen so close together, and like just seeing the difference, I think it was impactful to me. And that experience, not just that, but being in the NFL, like my life changing to, like, I remember driving by Sisbaro and being like, man, I could buy any car here, you know what I mean? And just feeling that security, sense of financial security that I'd never felt, even though it wasn't secure. You can always lose your job, but it had changed my life so much. And so many people like would have killed to have my job, but in that relationship, like, I was miserable. I was depressed. I was doing things in that relationship that were so hurtful to my kid's mom, and just obviously that trickles down to the kids, that I was just so depressed and feeling like, if I can't be happy with this, like, people would kill to be in the place that I'm at, and I'm like not satisfied. I'm not happy. I'm like kind of miserable. My life is in shambles. Really went into a dark place. Those 2 years that I was with the Falcons is where it was kind of the biggest. But I also met my mentor for the next 10 years. He happened to be an older stepbrother. He was so much older than me that I didn't have a lot of, I guess we grew up together, but he went off for several years, and I was like reconnecting in Atlanta, and he became my mentor, introduced me to the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey. And then my second P comes from that, having the right priority in your life, like, and learning how to prioritize my family, which was, I think we're all selfish. I was a selfish man, still a selfish man, but being able to see how priority is an important thing if you want to be successful. I was successful in a worldly way in my career, but I wasn't successful at home, and that caused so much pain that I would have given up NFL to just have a healthy relationship with my kids, you know what I mean, a healthier relationship while they're growing up, so that they don't have to go through similar stuff that I went through growing up, and those painful things when you don't have the right values, or you don't have the right understanding of relationships. So learning that priority, I think, was cool. And I got into health and wellness big time at that point, like changed my eating, like if I would have known what I knew, like after like starting like my second year in the NFL, when I was in college, I think I look back at my college pictures, and I was a fluffy 205. Like everything was like, it was weird to see. I think if I would have known the nutrition and ate a lot better, I probably would have been even more efficient as an athlete.
Wow.
Sorry for talking so long.
No, you're good. There's so many things I want to dive into off of that, but
it's a lot. I know. That's what I said. It's like three different
lives. Oh, totally. So your brother went away for a while. Where did he go?
So he went to New York. He was like trying to be a model, and he had changed his body. He was a scrawny drummer, not an athlete at all. And he buffed up to, like, he was in some some magazine in New York. He was part of a modeling agency. He was ripped like model status, like you'd expect to see him in a magazine. But he got into fitness coaching, and he moved to Atlanta, and like I think he was bumping into guys like Tony Robbins and Stephen Covey. Like he was working with executives who had connections with these guys. So he really got into health and wellness coaching.
And you guys just happened to both be in Atlanta by coincidence.
So I got cut by the Raiders. I shouldn't have, I feel like if I would have stayed in with Oakland, like Al Davis was still there, still alive at the time. He kept his guys that he drafted. Like, unless you did something crazy off the wall, like he gave guys a chance. And I feel like I would have had a long, good career in Oakland. But one of my teammates got into some trouble week 4, and they ended up cutting me to bring in a linebacker to, in case he wasn't able to play. And the next day, though, the Falcons picked me up. So the next day I'm in Atlanta. I'm with my brother, and he's a mentor for the next 10 years of my life. So
what did that feel like?
It felt divine, right? Like I was in a dark place, and he helped me to kind of see some of the areas that I was really not honoring my values, I think, and not really even knowing, like just going about life haphazardly. And he gave me this template through the 7 habits that really helped me to kind of open up. And I think I started to appreciate more of, I think, what God had in store for me. I think the football thing, I loved it, and it was kind of an outlet, but I think God had a lot more that he wanted, that he could use me. I say that was for me. That was my medicine, playing football, and it gave me so much, but it didn't bless a whole lot of other people. Obviously fans enjoy it, but it wasn't me. It wasn't a place where I could really add a whole lot of value to other people, or the way that I went about it, at least. It wasn't. And I think there was more. And I found that I naturally coach people. I naturally want to mentor. And he gave me a template to mentor and coach from that gave me confidence to be in front of people and to talk. I used to be super shy. I was real quiet. Even on those teams, like a lot of guys have great stories of the friendships and bonds that they built. I was looking at, like, how am I going to take this guy's spot? How am I going to move up the ladder? And I was not hanging out. I was not going out drinking and partying. I was working on being the best that I could at football, and missed a lot of that camaraderie that a lot of guys have when you're in that type of setting. So I feel like for me, football, it was for me, but this coaching thing, it brought out more of, I think, who God designed me to be, and things that I'm naturally bent towards. Coaching, I think I lead by example, and just being able to coach from that standpoint was a great feeling. It felt like that's what I'm going to be doing the rest of my life.
Wow. That's powerful.
Yeah.
So your brother comes in, he shows you this new book, and you said priority was one of the main things that you learned from it. How so? What do you mean by that?
So that's my second P. Looking back, I started to look at my life and what does success mean to me, and priority. So there's 2 things in that book that really, so the training program that we were developing was based on the 7th habit, which is sharpen the saw, daily renewal, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, and socially. So we were building habits around each one of those things. The one that we weren't really building was the spiritual piece. So I was doing all these things, so I got even more interested in cardio, stretching, and also the social part. Like, how am I building relationships?
Networking.
Yeah, we were part of networking groups and stuff like that. So that, and I think it's either the 2nd or the 3rd habit is put first things first.
Put first things first.
And he has one of the biggest parts, like a big examples that he uses is like kid coming into the dad's office and the dad being like, hold on, later, whatever, ignoring your kid to get your work done. And rather than like your loved ones, what it boils down to is relationships come before work. There's always more time to do work. But if you prioritize relationships, you'll be that much more effective in life. So being effective, like there's a lot of people we tend to salute people who burn the candle at both ends. And this was like trying to find a balance in your life where relationships come first. Success is really a measure of not just one area of life, but can I do this and be financially okay, right? Success, I think the financial piece, to me, that's the last one, but it's my faith. Like, what is this all about? Like, why am I doing these things? What is it serving? And we all have faith. And to me, it's where do we go when we hit rock bottom? Where do we go for our solution? Is it drinking? Is it to a friend? Or for me, it's going to God and trying to live my life more in alignment with that. Family, friends, like those are relationships. Like some of us don't have the greatest family, right? But if you create a family, you have family, and friends, the family that you get to choose, the people that you bring into your life. I think we're built for community. So I have 6 F's. It's faith, family, friends, fitness. It used to be fitness when I was working with my brother. His big thing is fitness. I moved that down under faith, under family and friends when I realized that like health is a lot more than physical health. And
Absolutely.
a lot of our health, like we weren't built to do this on our own. In my family, we have a lot of individuals who have individual success, but relationship success is something that we've all struggled with. And I think it's like we get good at certain things. We can push through hard things. So we're all physically able to do hard things, mentally able to do hard things. Relationally, that's, I think, a breakdown in our little family that's going on. So fitness, to me, it's actually supported by faith, family, and friends. I can be healthier when I have good relationships, a good support structure, a good community around me. 5th one is fun. I think we were put on this life, like if you look at God's creation, like he was having fun when he was doing stuff, when he was making us, making man and woman. You know what I mean? He was having some fun in all of that design, but just stuff that you see in the world and just how we're not complete unless we see other people that have different skills and different abilities than us. I love comedy and I can't make a joke to save my life. And then the 6th one is finance. And I say that's really just, what do I get out of it? What am I saying? How am I determining success? Because if money's the price tag, you can do all sorts of things to increase the money. But if impact, to me, that's what is more important to me. What's the impact? And when I have impact in people's lives, and that's something that I'm really still working to get out of, like healing myself and helping other people to also experience a balanced life.
That's powerful. Putting finance last.
Finance last.
That's a tough one. I mean, a lot of people are trying to make that bag nowadays, chasing money.
And you can do it so easily on social media, or just with the technology, right? It can, passive income. I've had so many opportunities come by around passive income, and I've truly decided that I don't want passive income. It changes my heart to have passive income and to think about passive income. It changes the way you operate. And also, like, I have another story from my football career that changed my ideas about money. So I ended my career with the Saints. I was on the sideline 2 games, and I played 2 games on special teams. I didn't end it there, but that was like the end of it after that. So I was going to be sent to NFL Europe, and this is where they vet players, see them play, and decide if they're going to offer them a contract. So it was kind of like a farm league for the NFL while it was there. And the Saints wanted to send me, and the Dolphins were reaching out to me and my agent to send me to Europe and represent them. And I'd been with the Saints, and I remember the day that I worked out for them. We weren't in New Orleans. We were in San Antonio because Hurricane Katrina had destroyed their stadium in New Orleans. So I'm in San Antonio, and I can't remember. We were in it was like the basketball facility. I don't remember where we were at, but I was warming up for my 40, and somebody had clocked me on my warm-up run, and they're like, you don't have to run your 40. Like, you're fast. Like, you're fast enough. And they didn't make me run a 40. So they saw how fast I was. They saw me play special teams, and they wanted me. Their guy was calling me like once a week. And I just kept asking my agent, why won't they match the Dolphins? Even if they give me something, I'll go. They weren't offering me any money. The Dolphins were sending me $50,000 if I went and represented them, and I went with the money. Nick Saban was the coach at the time, and had 2 interactions with him. One time after practice, I'm passing by him in the hall. I'll try to say hi, and he looks at me and says, "You ever do that crap again, I'm gonna effing cut your butt." Not as nicely as I put it right there. He says that, and then the next thing I know,
as in saying hi.
Me. No.
Okay.
I had pushed one, like,
okay.
If you're low man on the totem pole, you get in trouble if you hit somebody in practice, or that has a high price tag.
Yeah.
So I had bumped into somebody or pushed him out of bounds or something, and he didn't like it.
Gotcha.
But anyways, there was no relationship there, right? And there were like 7 safeties there when I got there, and I was just a body, and I couldn't learn his scheme, super complicated defensive scheme. And at the same time, there was this kid, Lance Moore. He was my roommate there. He was on practice squad. So I was on the totem pole. I was a little bit above him. I was playing. He was on practice squad. He went with the Saints. I played against him. He was representing the Saints. I was representing the Dolphins. He ends up earning a spot on the team, becoming one of their top receivers during his time there. Now he's like on ESPN news anchor. Like, his career took off at the Saints. Me, I went with money, and not soon after that was the end of my career when I came back, and they didn't want me. They didn't need me. Like, the Saints, they had a lot more invested in me, but they didn't show me that money. And there have been a couple of other, like, quick make money quick schemes that have come up, and anytime the money is the centerpiece of the conversation, I get a little bit leery, and it's made it easier for me to be like, I like earning my money daily and putting in effort and knowing the value that I bring. If it's passive income and anybody can do it, it can come and it can go. And I've had money come and go, and I'm a lot more peaceful now than when I had a whole lot of money and was trying to hold on to it. And I just have a different relationship with money, where, like, saving it up, storing it up isn't something that I want to do, and making passive income isn't something. It sounds good, and it tugs on your heart seeing people with stuff. But even having stuff now, I'm trying to have less stuff, less flashy stuff, because I don't know, it changes your heart. And for me, it's just not something I'm interested in.
That's beautiful, man. And you mentioned there the impact. You care more about making impact. And I feel a lot of times when you are making that impact, money is a byproduct. So it will come after, but when you're putting the impact first, that's where it ends up coming, just through your actions.
Yeah, and I've had this struggle. Like, I've been working on myself so much. Like,
through
I've
football.
Had so much stuff. Well, football was the first part, but then I learned relationally, I'm terrible. Like, I have all these things that I have to overcome, and just trying to be a father, right? Like, your kids will show you how terrible a job you're doing every day, how little patience you have, how little calmness you have, your persuasive power. They'll show you everything. You know what I mean? And
oh, yeah.
Just, like, I want to be a great dad. I want my kids to have a better life than I had. And so relationally, just trying to grow, and that's been a whole other thing that I think just trying to figure out, like, I've felt for the last 10 to 12 years, it's time to pour into other people, right? I felt this calling. I've done it in little ways, but I really want to be a mentor. I don't want to be so focused on myself or still feel like I have to learn something else.
You think that stems from the impact your brother had on you? you want to be that for someone else?
So me and him kind of had a falling out at the end of it, which is the third phase of my life and my third P, in finding my faith. So I left that health and fitness business, and with the question, like, what does it mean to surrender, and what does it mean to have faith? Like, I had trusted him, and that relationship went sour in a hurtful way, and he was the only man in my life I trusted. My biological father was gone. I didn't trust his dad. Didn't have any male role models in my life that I trusted. He was the first person I put trust in, and that fell apart 10 years in. But it was right when I'd started looking at that spiritual part. I was like, we're not doing that, and I don't think he cares about it on the level that I want to understand it. And I started looking for new mentorship around my spirituality. This was while I was in Atlanta, and I was around some strong Christian men who he had brought in as board of advisors for the business. And that ended up being something that was, I think it was serendipitous as well, that me and him had a falling out right when I was starting to look at, like, there's something in me calling to this spiritual piece that I know isn't being fulfilled in what we're doing. And we had this falling out. I came back to New Mexico. I had invested my last NFL money in this business, and I had invested, I was like, this is what I'm doing the rest of my life. And then the team that I was a part of, I was no longer a part of them and had to rebuild. And I came here with that question: what does it mean to surrender? And what does it mean to have faith? And I was running, listening to a podcast. I used to say running was my church. I came back here and I was nervous about, like, how slow the town is, and, like, this faith community that I had found, that I was going to Passion City Church in Atlanta. They make passion music. They have passion conferences, a pretty big church. And he was helping me to fall in love with the story of who Jesus was and just how that should impact my life when I left. So I was scared to miss that community, and I was scared of slowing down. Atlanta, such a fast pace, like, everybody's entrepreneurial, everybody's moving and shaking. So I started a business networking international group here in Las Cruces. It took a long time to build. And I was listening to three pastors. One was him, Passion City Church, Lou Giglio. But then I found one that he's become my favorite pastor, Tim Keller. He's a Presbyterian minister who passed away a couple of years ago of cancer, but he had a church in New York, in the heart of New York, where, like, sinners go to escape, like, trying to live clean and just get into the mess. And he was able to preach to these people who were unchurched. And so when I heard him, he was speaking, it felt like love and truth from the Bible, not hitting you upside the head. And his messages just made so much sense to me. I was listening to one of his sermons about, I think it was love and Christian hope, and it was about sex. Something that in my family, my stepdad was a polygamist. He's from Nigeria. In Nigeria, they have multiple wives. He came and was building his own little kingdom here. I grew up, there were always 3 women in the house at a time, and that's what, like, didn't feel right to me. My older stepbrother, who was my mentor, seemed to be trying to make good on what his dad was building, and had a very similar approach. He had open relationships and open marriages and stuff like that. And I wasn't vibing with it. And I felt like even just having sex outside of marriage, it felt like there's so much guilt and shame that came with it, that when I heard him say this, it was like, I'm 28 years old, 27 maybe. No, this was after I retired. So I was like 32, 33, 34 years old, I think. And for the first time, hearing somebody that I trust speaking into something that all my life people have been telling me something different. It's just a thing. It was like a handshake in our family. And his words, like, just hit my soul, and it was like, okay, every problem that I've had in my life has been centered around these mixed up relationships with women. When I got in trouble in college, it was a woman, and not knowing how to relate to her and be okay with her, whatever. having my first kid, like out of wedlock. All of those things, they just came with so much pain, and it's like, wonder what it would be to do it the way that he was suggesting, the way that the Bible says. And I had committed myself to no longer having sex outside of marriage, and set up all these boundaries. And in my own strength and my own wisdom, I was gonna get there, and found myself with somebody inside of those boundaries already, that their situation changed, and then I crossed the line that I didn't want to. And for the first time in my life, I had this this crushing sorrow. I was on the floor bawling when I went home after being with this woman, after making this commitment to not, I wasn't a Christian at the time, but it was just, I knew that it was going to change my life if I could do it the right way. And when I didn't do it the right way, it was the first time I felt convicted that I had this relationship to what I thought about God at the time. And I failed, and I was crying, I was bawling. It wasn't really about the girl. I did feel bad because she was a friend, and that in that space, I finally understood what it meant to surrender. Like, I was doing it in my power, and at this point I said, okay, God, I thought I could will my way the way I willed myself into football, and willed my way into a starting position, willed my way into the NFL, willed my way into this fitness change in my life. Like, we can do hard things, but some things, it's only in his strength and in our weakness. And in that weakness, that's something the Bible says that seems stupid. When you're weak, like, you're strong. And it was at that surrender, that place of, man, I can't do this, even in, like, with the best boundaries and the best thoughts in myself, I couldn't do it. And I had to let go and surrender. And shortly after that, I gave my life to Christ. I was baptized and became a Christian. And I think that's the new place that I'm at now. And that's where I found my purpose.
Wow.
And that's the place that I want to mentor and coach and lead young men, lead men, and help families not experience all the trauma that I've experienced. And so my 3 Ps are passion, priority, and purpose. But I went about it backwards and had to take all these lumps. I'm 44 years old, 2 failed relationships, 6 kids that have to come from a broken family. From the time I was maybe 3 years old, I didn't want that to be the legacy. Like, I wanted to change that. I wanted to change it for myself. Then when I was becoming a man, the reason I fought so hard for that first relationship, even though it was not based on much, like, I did not want my kids to have to experience a broken home, a broken family. I knew what that felt like to not have my dad in my life. And to have now 6 kids. I have 6 kids. I have 1 stepdaughter, so a 7th kid that I don't know where we're at right now. So I'm recently divorced, June 4th. Divorced, and never would have saw that coming, but I see a whole lot of healing that had to happen that maybe my wife at the time couldn't be with me for, but I feel like I'm in a healthier place. And now helping men see purpose. Like, the world tells us to go get a job and make a whole lot of money.
Yep.
Be the strongest, be the alpha male, right? Don't show any weakness. You're a warrior. A lot of guys like that Goggins guy. I'm not a big fan. Like, I think if you're at a certain level of needing healing, anger, I did that through football. So I did Goggins in football. I let the anger lead me to getting stronger and faster enough to be in the NFL, right? But I would like to not coach from that way, but start with the purpose and show people how priority matters. And then you can have passion in your purpose, not passion in the job. The job left me a long time ago playing football. Like, now it's hard for me to play football. Knees are creaking. But having that purpose, like, that can't be taken. If your purpose Like purpose, it shouldn't be in a job. It shouldn't be even in a single person, but it's in things that are eternal. And I think building relationship, building community, building men who don't have to suffer through the brokenness that me and my children have suffered through is something that's important to me. And I feel like that's where I feel God moving me into this space of being able to have an impact, a real impact. Like I always do talks and I always do like public speaking. I could coach people as an athlete, but to me, that's missing a whole lot of what's really important. And I think that spiritual piece is the most important piece for me to be inspired to really make a difference in the spaces that I can.
That's beautiful, man. Beautiful. Quite the journey. And
we got through the 3 Ps.
We got through the 3 Ps.
It was going to be long. So.
No, it's good. There's so many valuable lessons from that story. I don't even know where to go next.
Yeah, and it's scary kind of being vulnerable. Your audience, I don't know your audience, and I just want to kind of acknowledge that right now. It's been a long journey, and there's people who think they know you, and I know that there's not a whole lot of people who really know me. There's people who know me third party through other people. But at the heart, I think I shared with you, because we're in this space to have this conversation. It's about health. And this is the new place of health that I'm at is I want to be vulnerable. A lot of men aren't vulnerable with the real parts, right? The parts that aren't pretty. I'm not on social media because I can't stand presenting this facade of who I am that looks perfect, because I know I'm imperfect. And I don't know. I want men to be okay being imperfect, but not be okay staying there. Like, I want to help men raise the standard, not excuse being below the standard, right? In any area. If it's fitness, we all make excuses when we fall off, but what does it take to not like, if you're good at making excuses, you're never going to be good at overcoming, right? Like, you're either good at making excuses or you're good at overcoming. I don't think the two can live hand in hand. So I have areas that I struggle in that other guys don't, right? And I think in community, if we're vulnerable, we can help each other be more of who God called us to be.
Absolutely. I mean, that's when the truth comes out and you get to those real deep meanings and driving factors that shape you to who you really are. And yeah, man, I've gone through it as well. And here recently, I just lost a battle as well. And man.
You're talking about on the relational side?
Yep. Yeah. I went through a court battle and for custody of my child. And I got denied. I thought I was going to get it, especially the way things went, the way it lined up. The lawyer did incredible. The way the judge was talking, I'm like, oh man, it's going to happen. And then shocked by the court order 3 weeks later. I was like, whew. That was like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's fresh. No, that's hard. I lost 50-50 custody. I had them 50-50, but when we went to the court system expecting it to be fair, it was anything but that. And New Mexico and Las Cruces especially is known for not being kind to men when it comes to that. And it's unfortunate, and it seems like it might be part of the political landscape of this state that lends itself to devaluing like what a father could be in their kid's life. And I'm sorry that you had that experience. I know that that's rough. And 3 weeks in, like, there's going to be a lot of changes that you're going to go through with that. How old's your kid?
11.
11?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's at the perfect age right now where he needs me, So I'm just trying to maximize my time with him. And I did get more time than I previously had, so I'm thankful for that. But yeah, man, it hit hard. I was like, oh. But it made me realize something. I was like, you know what? I had God in my heart, but I wasn't truly putting him first. So that's where I took a shift, and it took that realization to say, oh, hang on, we need to make an adjustment here. I say I have God in my heart, but is he really first? What's the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning? Check my phone, go look at notifications or go check the Instagram performance, whatever. I'm not putting him first. I'm putting money first, social media first, lust. So I'm like, let's switch that. So I made a change here recently. I'm trying to put God first, and I'm trying to stay true to that. Start my mornings with some Bible verses, 2 chapters every morning with some prayer to start my day and end my day. And then I'm trying to just keep God in my mind and my purpose being my main driving factor. And so far it's been great. It's been helping me cope with the situation and not let that frustration and anger take me over, because man, that could take you to a dark place real quick. So
yeah, thanks for sharing that, and thanks for being vulnerable. Your audience, I'm sure they'll appreciate that, just knowing you a little bit more and what you're going through. Legally, there's probably stuff that you shouldn't say, but I think what you said was okay, and I think it was that's the pain, right, that of life, and a life where maybe things are out of balance and that relational struggle. And that's you spoke into what I would love to know that I'm making an impact on, is young men, their relationships and their relationship as a boyfriend, husband, and father. Like, how do we do that in a way? How do we prioritize the right things to make sure that we don't create? It takes two in a relationship, but I think there's a lot that we can do as men better. And it sounds like you saw some of the things maybe that that you've prioritized that get in the way of healthy relationship. Because even if it's your relationship with God, like if that's not in order, if you can't do that, I think it's that much harder to put a relationship with a woman, wife or girlfriend, whatever, in the right priority, and your relationship with your kid. I don't know. It's a funny dance, because for me, like, God it's more abstract, right, than the relationships that you have. I trust in what the Bible says about God, but I experience the feelings of life through interacting with my wife, with my children. And I think that's part of the beauty of God's creation, is we see more of God through community, through the people that are around us. So in your interaction with God, with your wife or your girlfriend or your child, you get to practice, like, that's where you see God, and that's where you see the world, and that's where you get to practice patience with the brokenness in the people that we interact with, and say, okay, I do honor my God in the way that I'm going to respond to this woman or this child or this coworker who isn't showing up the way that I'd want them to, right? And I can't control them, but I do get to experience life through other people. And I think if we just look at God as this abstract figure that we interact with occasionally, and we don't, and this is something I'm preaching to myself right now, we don't see the God in the daily interactions that we're having, I think it'll be disconnected from our actual life. And it sounds like you're on that journey of, how do I actually put God first? And I think those habits that you have are great. And I also encourage you to see it in those relationships, see it in that struggle, in that battle in the court. Like in the Bible, it says, don't bring your battles to the court with your Christian brothers and sisters. You guys should work that out. And like, I'm starting to see that the court, it's a fallible institution that moves on its own. But relationships, we always have, it takes two people in every relationship, even the toxic ones, and you can hold the standard in that relationship, even if it's gone sour and you weren't good in it before. You can show up new and bring the light into that dark space. Preaching to myself.
No, it's beautiful, man. And I was in the sauna shortly before the court happened, and I felt like it was the Holy Spirit talking to me through a guy in there. They were talking about some court deal that they were going through, and I was like, man, I'm going through it too. I got it coming up. And he's like, man, I went through it about 5-6 years ago, if I could give you any advice, be on good terms with the mom. He's like, at the end of the day, it's going to be you guys that have to come to agreement, not the court.
Yeah.
And you're going to still have to deal with her no matter what the court order is. So he's like, try to be on good terms with her. I was like, thank you for that. That's what I needed to hear, because, it's like you got this court battle and it kind of sets you up as enemies.
Yeah.
But that's not the case, man. I mean, we're trying to raise a child here and you need both sides. Yeah. So it's like, if you're fighting each other, it just makes it that much harder.
Definitely.
So those words really hit deep with me. And I was like, you know what? I do need to change the way I'm talking to her, just with a simple hi, good morning, instead of just an objective, like, I need this, whatever, So, man, that made a difference. And shortly before the court, I was like, man, things were starting to get better. I was like, it starts to feel like we're a team again.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Your kid needs that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So, man, that's where you can see it through the relationships. Even when it's so hard, it's like, feels like she's got this power over me, through my son, the person I love the most. It's ripping my heart out, but I got to trust God, and he's got this plan for me, and everything happens for a reason. I know that this is one of the trials and tribulations that I have to go through to become that man that I'm supposed to be. And it's been a journey so far, and I know there's a lot more to come. But one of the things that has always helped me is when I'm going through hard times like this, is just trust in the Lord. He has a plan for me. And no matter what, the good or the bad, it's designed to shape me into who I'm supposed to be. So just embrace it and try to do my best through the struggle. And that has helped me a ton. That helped me get through this with surprisingly not much darkness. I mean, when I first read the court order, that was gut-wrenching.
Yeah.
Gut-wrenching. Sure. But I didn't dwell on it. I was like, you know what? I was prepared for this. I was prepared for worst case scenario and hoping for the best, of course. Yeah. But here we got it. Let's deal with it and now adjust and keep moving forward. But man,
do you have some good men in your life that you can bounce those things off of as well?
Absolutely.
I think that's a critical factor. And I went through this program and they said, like, most men, like 90% of men, don't have a man that they can confide in, and I'm one of those men. Like, I haven't built
closed
those
up
relationships. Yeah, you keep it to yourself and deal with it on your own. And if you have that, and you have that perspective of, like, that was my prayer, I think, this morning or yesterday. I was just really trying to meditate into, okay, God, you can use this to bring me into more of who you want me to be, and I'm going to trust that, because I've been struggling, dwelling on, like, why are we here? Yeah. Why are we in this position? And that messes up my sleep, messes up my work, messes up my fitness, messes up everything. Like, and I'd been doing good up until the last few weeks. Something was coming up that put me back into thinking about the family that I lost and all of that, and just, like, for the first time in my life, being in a place where I'm not trying to do things to occupy my mind as much as I'm trying to let this reshape my heart the way that God wants to. So sounds like you got the right perspective. So good for you. And
I hope so. Thanks, man.
Keep breathing and keep reaching out. If I can be of support to you, let me know.
Absolutely. I appreciate it.
God brings people together for a reason.
No doubt. And you did mention there, like, do I have a support system? I do. I've got men in my life that I can talk to, but this one, I have kind of bottled it up and took it on my own. So that kind of encourages me, hey, maybe I should talk a little more about it. Talk to my brothers, those people that do care. And
yeah, some stuff hits us in our pride, right?
Yeah.
It's like, that's not who I was. And I've been struggling with that identity. I wasn't the guy who was supposed to be divorced. And gosh, I did not want my boys to not having me in their life, my 3 younger guys. And yeah, I was thinking about that too, just the identity crisis. But I've been through this before, coming out of football. Like at that high level, there's this identity crisis that I had to work through. But now I think knowing my identity in Christ is helpful, but living it out is the hard part. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I was a husband and I thought I was this Christian husband doing it the right way, and divorce isn't going to happen to me, right? But here I am, and now trying to figure out how to let that grow me still. Like I'll always be growing, and God can use this for good, and just being prayerful about that.
Man. So how are you, you've gone on this journey of purpose and putting God first. What practical things have you done and lifestyle changes that reflect that?
I think one of the first big changes in my life was tithing, giving 10%. I was broke when I met my wife. I was in college trying to get my degree. That business, the custody battle, broke me. They say it can put a man back 10 years. It definitely put me back 10 years. And already feeling in the business world 10 years back, because I played football for 8 years and then I had to rebuild my resume, you know what I mean? So all of those things felt like I had no reason to be tithing, but me and my wife, like, first thing we did when we were married was, and I'm going to say this, I'll say it just because I'm trying to be more real. Through that custody battle, I had my kids 50-50, went into court, came out with every other weekend I was going to get them. So went to like 80-20 or less than that. And I automatically became a deadbeat dad because I didn't have any record of having 50-50 custody of my kids. So I had to pay back like $35,000 I was in debt to. That automatically I ended up having to, and the way that they used the system, I ended up having to move out of living for free with my mom while I was trying to rebuild in this transition to getting an apartment and having to get on food stamps. I went from the NFL to this relationship getting me on food stamps, and using support for, it was like a year or two that I had to do that while I was pursuing my degree, trying to rebuild my life. My home the big problem was a home in Atlanta got foreclosed on when a renter just abandoned it. So it was all these things that I think were meant to humble me and put things in perspective in life. And me and my wife were both receiving support, and we still started tithing, and eventually, like, I think within the first 6 months of being married, or a year, able to get off of the support, and our financial position just changed so quickly. And I'm not saying that you tithe for that, you tithe to be obedient. And that's what, like, my wife, one of the things I really appreciated about my wife was her desire to be obedient to God in those ways, and the things that we believe, like living them out, and that was one of them. What was your question again? What are the practical things? Practical things?
Or like things that you're doing to put God first and be closer to God.
You mentioned lust. In my life, I said women was the biggest issue in my life, and I think that comes with lust. This is the first time in my life where that hasn't been a driving factor or like a concerning factor. Any other time I was a single man, like, that was like the only thing on my mind, right, is what woman is going to fulfill this part of my life that I need. And I think practically as men, for me as a man, learning that intimacy is so much more than sex. Coming up, intimacy was only sex. Even as I was married, and like we got intimate before the marriage, but then it shifted to like not working on the emotional intimacy, right? I was busy building a business or whatever I was doing. And so intimacy went back to what it used to be. And I think that's what I'm saying when I'm saying being connected with men, finding intimacy the way that God created it in humanity, in the people around us, in relationships with men. I don't think he made us to be isolated as men with just the woman being the only person. That's a lot of baggage for one person to carry, your wife, your intimate partner, to carry all of who you are. Like, I need outlets that I have with men that are manly. I need the stuff that most of it's with my wife. But there's so much of me that comes alive in different relationships. To have one person, I think it's unfair, and I think it's unnatural. I don't think you can be fully who you are where the only intimacy you experience is in your relationship. And so many people come into relationship insecure and unhealed, and that insecurity ends up isolating us together, and we don't have the support to be who we are, and we're not fulfilled in that relationship, and we jump from relationship to relationship unfulfilled. And I'm thankful to be in a place, I thank God in this divorce for giving me that peace in this place. Even as we were separating and stuff, I was concerned about being single, and the minute I made a move to honor the parts of me that needed to heal outside of this relationship, I felt that drop. Like this, I don't know, that's a whole nother story. I want to get trained in narrative focused trauma care. Something that I've been coming up in my life is like most of the things that we do around lust, it's around coping. You mentioned coping earlier. I coped through physical stuff, through physical fitness, through achievement. So you can put a lot into that. But having real quality coping in the way, like in relationship. That's why I asked about men. I think that's how you really get through things and heal, is when you're able to grieve the loss and have people mourn that loss with you and be next to you, be close to you, hold you as you're sad, right? This is a sad time for me, and unfortunately I haven't built those relationships, but I keep reaching out and keep getting with guys and trying to share vulnerably, like, yeah, I'm hurting about this, and I'm depressed right now, I haven't been sleeping, and building that community and building that intimacy so that I don't go back to the coping that doesn't work. It leads to more pain, and you just reenact trauma and bring more pain into your life and bring pain into other people's life. And I'm thankful, and I pray that God will keep me in this space, that my focus is on holiness right now. Like, how can I be holy in this divorce and honor you with my time and my energy now?
Wow. You had mentioned that that pastor, he changed your perspective from polygamy to monogamy. What did he say? Or maybe it wasn't exactly that. Sorry.
He affirmed.
Okay.
He affirmed what I felt in my spirit in this polygamous family. There's no reason I should be a Christian.
That's right.
Today.
You did mention that.
What I'm saying is, God, like, if I look back at my life, there are all these things where God was pulling on my heart and showing me, even in the midst of chaos, like, everybody else is doing that, but you don't have to do that. You don't have to be attracted to that. And trying to fit in, you end up doing stuff. That was my story, at least. But I felt sad afterwards. I felt shameful afterwards. And that was a battle all my life. Is like, being a man, this is what I do, and this is what every other man's doing that I know. But feeling in my spirit that something was off. So when I heard him, it was the first confirmation in my entire life that it wasn't just, no, it's bad, like it's sin. It was, this is what he said. He said the union of a husband and wife in marriage, a man and a woman in marriage, even outside of marriage, like, this feels so good. And that's why I was saying earlier, in the creation of man and woman, like, God was having fun. Like, sex, it's a fun thing. It, like, really, it's like the same endorphins, like if you get high on something, are released when you're in an intimate encounter, hopefully with your wife. And he said that like everything in this world is a shadow of the spiritual world, and we're incomplete in this world. God is complete. But when we marry and we come together, that's the closest to completion. And that intimacy with our wife, that's the closest to the completion of oneness that God is. And it's just a shadow. It's like a drop in the ocean. And if we feel that, this is what the anticipation of heaven is, to be in communion with God on the level of, like, if this thing that people kill, get jealous, like we get crazy about this thing and we use it like in ways that I think are damaging to us spiritually. But this union, that's only a shadow or a drop of the ocean of what it means to be with God. Like, that made me yearn for heaven, like to know that this thing that my whole life has like driven me crazy, and just intimacy with women, like imagine, like, and I know I'm giving it up on earth. I'm giving up heaven for that, to experience that, right?
For that pleasure.
Like even people who take drugs, it's like they can't get high. Like I go on a run and get this euphoric feeling. If I'm taking drugs, like I get addicted to the drug. So I get addicted to the outlet of sex or whatever it is, winning at gambling, making more money, winning the bid. Like we get it from that, and those things become a cheap substitute for what I've experienced in marriage. That connection is so much more enjoyable, and it's just at such a higher level. But if that is like a drop in the bucket of what it means to be in heaven in communion with God, to be close to him the way he intended us to be, like that's what Adam and Eve were experiencing in Eden. Like I want that. I want to wait for that.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
Like we give up so much here on earth. And I think that's part of that money draw too. I don't want to be comfortable here with my financial situation with passive income, because like if that is a substitute for me being in heaven, like being in communion with God, not that we have to go somewhere, but to experience heaven when God comes back, like that's what I want to experience.
Wow. That's beautiful, man. And in today's world, money, sex, and drugs are dragging us away from that constantly. We're under attack, especially us men. We're under attack constantly by those three things. There's more too, but those are the three main hitters that I think: money, sex, and drugs.
And a lot of them are happening on the internet.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. We got OnlyFans,
like all of that stuff. Like
yeah.
Making money doing nothing on the internet.
Get rich quick schemes. And now all these kids, they want to be content creators because that's what they see on YouTube. They're like, I want to be like Mr. Beast, you know?
Yeah.
But man, it's tough out there. And raising a son, he's 11 years old now. I'm having to prepare him for these things, and it's tough, man, because now it's not just avoiding it, it's actively attacking us. It's seeking us out. Like the nudity on the social medias, on the Snapchats, it just pops up, man. And then you got the group chats, the friends are sending them in there. It's like, dude, it's hard to avoid. And I know my son's going to experience that, so I'm trying to prepare him now. Like, hey, it's coming. He's like, nah, I won't care about that stuff. I'm like, buddy, just wait.
You're having those conversations with them. There's a lot of good resources. I've found some resources for preparing your children. They say, I was just listening to a lady, I just shared it like yesterday or 2 days ago with my brother in Arizona and with my wife, my ex-wife, just how to talk to your kids about some of these things. Like one lady, she's like, you start preparing them at 3 years old when you're bathing them in the bath. Like you start helping them to understand like what things are and what they aren't, and naming things appropriately. And just like the reality is 7 years old is the average age that a kid's introduced to porn today through technology. So being able to use technology, set boundaries around technology, but also to have conversations with your kids where their friends aren't the ones. Like my friends taught me about sex. My older brothers and their friends taught me, had the any sex conversation that I had. It was watching them, listening to them, being around them. I didn't have a parent sit down and that was the biggest takeaway was you be the first person to have this conversation. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, it's awkward, but do the work internally to be able to talk about, I'm not going to say them now. I haven't done the work yet to say it comfortably, but talk about body parts, men's and women's, appropriately, and about how kids are made and all of that. Do the work if that's uncomfortable for you so that you can say that, because a lot of us have shame in that area. Do the work and have those conversations with your kids first.
Yeah.
You introduce them to it. Don't let the world introduce it, because when it comes, and those are things you can't erase. That's another thing I've been very conscious of. I have images from my childhood that once they're in there, they're never gone. I've learned and come to new appreciation for what was good, what was holy, what was evil, and what was maniacal in my life and my upbringing. But I still have to deal with it, and it still impacts who I am and how I showed up in the world. And being able to, you can't put your kids in a bubble, but you can have these conversations and give them truth and give them a foundation of truth that I think will set them up to battle those things a lot better than many of us who don't have parents speaking that stuff into our life.
Absolutely.
Keeping us safe from it in a good way.
No doubt. And I came from a 2-parent household, and loving parents, a beautiful dynamic, but they never had that conversation with me. And
it's awkward.
It sucks. I mean,
and a lot of people aren't I don't know.
And what happened? I got a girl pregnant at 15.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang.
So that's more my son. He's 11 now. So I was like, man, forget the awkwardness. Who cares? We need to have this conversation, because back then I was 15, just hormones kicking in. Sex is fun and feels good.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
yeah.
It's going to happen to him too, unless we have this conversation. Hey, dude, there's a lot more to it. It's an energy exchange. And like you said, it shouldn't be played with. It's the closest thing to the Creator.
Yeah. And I think with this narrative focused trauma care that I'm getting into, you didn't just happen to be in a place at 15 where you were having sex with a girl. There's a life of things that happened before there that
led to that moment.
What came in? What were the messages? What were the messages you didn't hear, and what were the messages that you did hear? What were you looking for in that experience, right? That led up to that that moment, right, where the hormones, we all have the hormones, but I don't think that everybody's going to be in that position based on their raising, the conversations that they have. Right?
That's true.
And just having a 2-parent home that you feel is a loving place is better than a lot of people that I know, but it's not. That's not everything. Is what I'm hearing, what I'm picking up from your stories. There were some things that weren't. Even if you did have a good family home, there's not a playbook, and people aren't talking about these things. So I'm so thankful that I found this resource. I'll share it with you.
Yeah, please do. I'll include it in the description down below. So
okay, cool. Yeah, Adam Young is the podcast that I listen to. It's I can't remember the title of it, but it was a specific one that was about this specifically. So it's probably somebody else's resource that I'll end up going to later on. But I heard it, you know what I mean? And I'm already starting to think about how to apply it with my 3 little guys. And even having conversations with my older kids now is on my heart. It's never too late to have those conversations and get the parenting that we didn't get when we were younger. Even now, I try to parent myself through some of the things that I know I missed out on.
For sure. For sure. So you said now purpose is the main driver. You saying you doing some talks and whatnot and some coaching. What all does that look like? What are you working on nowadays?
Oh, so no, just in my history, those are things that I've done. Right now,
Okay.
I'm a professor
Okay.
I'm finishing up my last summer class at UTEP. I just started last week, a little 4-week semester, and then I'll be back at New Mexico State. So I got my PhD in 2020, started teaching that fall at New Mexico State,
Oh,
and
wow.
I'm coming back. So
What are you teaching?
my 4th year. I teach marketing and sales.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to be teaching stuff on social media, and I'm not really on social media. So thinking about how to get back into, like, I'm on LinkedIn, but I might get on one of the other platforms where you have more engagement to practice some of what I'll be teaching the students. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
definitely with boundaries and some guardrails, because there's so much craziness on there, and it draws on your heart. Everything you see
Absolutely.
is a draw
Comparison.
on your heart. Yeah, all of that. Comparison, lust, you name it.
So what led you to transition into teaching?
So teaching, that's one thing about my life. Like, all of the things that I've done weren't planned, right? There's people who, like my daughter, she just graduated from U of A, my oldest daughter, and since she was 7, she was saying she was going to be a doctor. And now she just graduated, took her MCAT, passed her MCAT, and she's on the trajectory to what she's been saying she's going to do from the time she was 7. Me, I fell into football. Like, I loved it, but even, like, I didn't look at schools and think about going to college to play football.
You got talked into it.
I got talked into it. And health coaching, like, run into my mentor. I didn't know I cared about coaching and health as much as I did, but it was something that came naturally to me, the discipline and being disciplined, and then sharing, having a passion for sharing what I know with other people. Like that, I kind of fell into that and realized, wow, like, this is something I could see myself being passionate about. So teaching was the same thing. I got into it. I was going to do, it was from the health standpoint. I wanted to do corporate wellness. I saw myself having a bigger impact because limited by hours in the day, right? I was training people in the gym and could impact 10, 20 people at most over, like, it takes some people, it's a few months, some people it's a few years, right? So that's a very limited amount of reach for the amount of effort. And what I realized, I was in Atlanta coaching, and I read this article about Ariana Huffington of the Huffington Post, how she was shifting how she ran her businesses because of an experience that she had. So the article is called, it was towards women, and it was about leaning in, but also leaning out. So women needed to show up in the spaces that were typically men. She's a female CEO of this big company. So she was talking about how she'd taken on the traits of men, but she's also, I don't know if she is, but if she was talking about how mothers, they're doing the CEO thing, and they still are mostly responsible in the home for child care, child rearing, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So she was talking about, like, how women can bring this rather than joining the men who are killing themselves at work, they can bring the balance, like, to life. And she changed how she ran her organization. She was at her desk working late one night and passed out due to just being overexhausted, and broke her orbit. And that's where she changed her life. Like, she decided she's not doing it the right way, and created a whole new health program for her organization. And that really sparked me thinking about, this was in 2013, organizations are starting to shift towards understanding like work-life balance and creating a healthy space. And my whole thing was, all of the people that I was coaching, they were killing themselves at work. Work was the biggest obstacle to them being healthy. And for me, when I transitioned away from the company that my brother was building and was building stuff on my own, it was like, I felt like I could have a bigger impact if I went into corporations and did stuff. So corporate wellness was the idea, and getting my PhD was really to give me the credentials to be able to show up to these organizations and put them through programs. This was going to be my home base, and I would travel to Texas, California, Atlanta, to these bigger cities. That was the idea. I had lost custody of my kids, so I wasn't seeing them. I could be gone for 2 weeks and it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But then I became a Christian, was going to church, met my wife at church and in my small group, and got married. And then a month later we were pregnant. And so my whole idea of life shifted. It was like, I knew at least that I couldn't be traveling as much as I would need to build this corporate wellness business, and have a wife that's satisfied in our relationship. I at least knew that part, I guess is what I'm trying to say, that I needed to change that, and started I was working in a hospital where I collected my data for my dissertation, and lost that job during COVID. So now we have a baby and I don't have a job. And I was really went deep into, okay, I had this period of time where I could figure out, like, who am I? What am I passionate about? And I did, like, all the coaching I'd been doing for other people, I did it on myself during that time. And I really wanted to explore what lights me up. What am I passionate about? I knew that there had to be some element of coaching and training, like moving physically. I know that competition, like, I love competing. Like, so I started competing in track around that time. And there's something, I feel like God gifted me with this desire and ability to change my body, improve and progress. And I feel alive competing. So there was that element. And then just the mentorship, the coaching piece. And in that space, an opportunity came at NMSU 6 months later after I started doing these other things. But I think I had a solid understanding of what was important to me. So when I started teaching, I started to see how I am mentoring youngsters, like, before they get into this organization in this corporate world, that they give you enough money, they kind of control your outlook on life. So I feel like I have this opportunity now to live out my purpose, and part of what I'm naturally gifted and what I naturally gravitate towards through teaching. Especially right now, I don't get to choose the subjects that I teach. But I think the further I get into my career, I think I'll be able to really have a solid impact on young men and women's lives, and bring all of this background to the foreground, and have it be a part of how I show up in the classroom and teach my courses, and just impart whatever wisdom I have to impart in my students to help set them up in the right direction for their futures, and to be the future leaders who are starting these companies and understand and appreciate the ethics of doing business, right? And just that work-life balance, like how you prioritize and how you negotiate and understand with yourself everything that you're negotiating business-wise. There's also a negotiation of your time with your family, your friends, your exercise, that some things aren't as important. And having that experience and those stories that I can share with them, that I just shared with you, I think I can make an impact and show them, like, you can chase money or you can chase purpose. What is your purpose? And being able to create programs within my courses where I do the same thing I would have been doing in corporate wellness, just maybe with a longer period of time with some of these students, and a better opportunity to really help them think about it differently.
That's beautiful. I had a couple professors that left an impact on me, so I see a potential for you to do that to many people as well.
That's cool. Who are those professors, and what was the impact?
Dr. Armstrong. I actually had him on the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, he inspired me to become a fighter pilot.
Really?
Yeah, so I went through that path, and it didn't end up working out. I didn't get accepted, but there for a while I was set. Like, that's what I wanted to do, fly fighter jets.
How did he inspire? Did he have a
He was a teacher. He
flying
was,
background?
yeah. He was a fighter pilot for 20 years, flew the F-15. And I had this interest, a draw to fighter jets from a young age.
Okay.
I think it was from my dad. Like the way he talked about them and whatnot, it made me want to be a fighter pilot. And then I get this professor in engineering, and he was a fighter pilot, and he's got all this knowledge and experience, and he would talk about the stuff that he went through and through storytelling during his class, which sounds like you're going to be sneaking some of that in there.
Yeah, try to teach some lessons.
Yeah, and that was more valuable to me than the actual curriculum, was his storytelling. And it just sounded so fun, and like I would love it. And one day I went to him, I was like, hey, could I get some advice? I'm trying to figure out my path as an engineer. I don't know where I could go or what I should do. And he broke it down for me, all the different options and routes I could take. And then he reached out a couple weeks later. He's like, hey, you want to come back and meet with me again? I was like, sure. He's like, hey, I think you have the characteristics of a fighter pilot.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh, really? I was like, tell me more. So then we started talking about it, and then he was my mentor throughout college. And like I said, I went through the process. I did all the testing. I crushed the testing, but wasn't selected.
Really?
Yeah, I wasn't selected. So I think everything happens for a reason. You know, COVID came around. They probably would have forced me to get vaccinated, which I probably would have backed out.
Really?
And yeah, I mean, who knows at the time? Maybe being in it, I would have been so invested, I would have just said, screw it. But I see myself now, I think I would have said no and dropped out.
And if you didn't, you'd probably have some resentment or something.
Yeah, exactly.
If
So
you went against your values.
Again, everything happens for a reason. So
yeah, that's a cool story.
Who knows? It was inspiring though, and he's one of my mentors to this day. So I think it's a cool path, and he left a mark on me. So I think you'll leave a mark on quite a few people.
Hopefully. Who was the second one? You said there were two. It wasn't as big of an impact. Okay.
Not mention worthy. No,
Very cool.
maybe it was just one.
Okay. No, that's awesome. Most people don't have that experience. I didn't have that experience at the college level where I engaged with any adults. I wish I did, you know what I mean? Because I know there's a lot of great people. That's one of the things that I like to say is, in a place like this where there's not a whole lot of glamorous things in New Mexico, right? In Gadsden, the people who are there, a lot of times, like, you can find people who are there because they just love what they're doing, and if you can tap into that, you can get that inspiration. And that's who I want to be here. This is home for me. I decided this is going to be where I was going to rebuild, and I see that there's reasons to leave here, but there's also reasons to stay, and I want to be one of those people who stays and can do what Dr. Armstrong did for you. That's real cool.
That's awesome, man. Awesome. I got a few closing questions, and we'll wrap this thing up.
All right.
If you guys got some value from this podcast, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe and share this with others. Help us reach a larger audience. But Siddeeq, if you could go back and give 18-year-old Siddeeq some advice, what would you say?
My older kids always say that I lecture. I do lectures when I talk to them. I have so many things I want to say to them. I think, what's the most valuable piece? I think I'm doing that right now. I'm going back and trying to rewire a lot of things that I got wrong at 18. I think back then I felt that, like, the biggest thing that I wanted was a woman in my life it was almost like looking for a mother, looking for somebody better than me, like, to help me be stable. You know what I mean? Like, a woman was
a rock,
was my way out of depression, out of insecurity, out of needing mothering, needing nurturing. And I think if I could have learned that a lot earlier, that, like, I think understand my value. I think that's what I probably needed the most at that point. Was I had made myself this football guy. At 18, I was still in the process, but I'd seen how that progress and people starting to recognize me and stuff, or it was about to come, it was a bad place for somebody who didn't know their value. And I think not knowing my value made me devalue the people all around, everybody that I interacted with. They got a lesser value of who I was, but they were devalued in my presence because I had such a low value of myself. And I think the most important thing I needed to know at 18 was where my true value came from, and just knowing that I was valuable, especially beyond what I can do and what I can achieve. You just reminded me, I bumped into a girl I hadn't seen in 20 years. So 20 years of growth and change, and we're both in a situation, our kids are there, and I don't know, it felt good to want to apologize to this woman for the way that she knew me at that time. You know what I mean? And not to tell her I'm better and I'm different, but just like, you deserved so much better than the way that I treated you when I was 19, 20, whatever. And it was just interesting. I don't know. It was weird. I haven't seen her in forever, but something about my interaction with her is in my head. Like, who the heck were you? Like, that is not. Yeah. Doesn't leave a good taste. So.
Yeah, no, that kind of resonates with me as well. I mean, a similar feeling. I got bullied hard in school, and I ended up becoming a bully to some kids, and then I see them nowadays, and it's cool and all. We talk and have conversations, but I got this deep feeling. I want to apologize for being an asshole back in the day.
Do it.
Yeah.
I think that's an appropriate setting. Like, you don't know how much, like at that age, like people's words impact, and I think it's never too late. Like somebody that you did that to, like to be able to tell them, man, I was such a jerk to you, like, because you hold on to that stuff and it impacts you. And like sometimes an apology, if somebody hasn't done the work on their own, can open them up to, because man, there's words that were spoken into my life. Like you can curse people with your words and they're impactful, or what you did to them, and then the meaning, right? We can't understand the meaning that people make. And sometimes the most insignificant thing, even misreading what somebody's saying or doing, the way I interpret it, can lead to something. So being able to go back and have that conversation, and maybe it didn't impact them, but maybe there was somebody that it impacted them in a deep way, and you could help them gain that healing by apologizing. I'd recommend trying it out.
I'm going to do it. Thanks for that. You got 3 favorite books?
3 favorite books. I got 2 on the top of my head. So before the Bible was my Bible, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, most impactful book in my life. Like if you read that and try and apply it, that's what he suggests at the very start of the book. He says most people read and 1% of people actually apply, but if you read this with the mindset of teaching it to other people, it'll change your life. And it's true. So 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. The Bible has been, man, I've read the Bible almost, I think, every year since 2014. Now I started doing it like every 2 years. I wanted to slow down, and because it became just getting through it, just checking it off. But reading the Bible since 2014, 2013 was when I started reading it. 2013, there's always being in it. I've gone through it now probably at least 5 times. Going to church, I also hear the stories multiple times. So every story I've heard at least 5 times. And just like life changes, new change. And it's one book that I think you could spend your entire life reading and there's new, fresh insights and relationship. It's really about relationship with God. Like some of my favorite verses, like just have been like just in the last couple of weeks have been like mind-blowingly shifted by reading them again in a different heart space with different life experiences. I'm trying to think. I told you about mentoring other people. And I was trying to memorize this verse. It's Luke 6, I believe, is you hypocrites, something about you have a log in your eye, but you see the speck in your brother's eye, right? Mm-hmm. So I was reading that just a couple of weeks ago. I'm on Luke 16. So 10 days ago, I was reading that, and I didn't realize that shortly after that, he was talking about what it means to be a disciple. Like verses later, another impactful verse to me was about being a disciple. And what I read in that is like, and this is why I'm talking about men and our weaknesses, is because of the experience I had reading Luke 6 2 weeks ago, let's say. And like I've been trying to lead people in a way where I hide my weaknesses, where I get good at these things and I only do these things. Mm-hmm. These are the things that I'm going to work with you. But when I read that, and then I read about what it means to be a disciple or discipling, it was like, and with this new feeling that I feel in my marriage, with my marriage ending and coming out of it and not having that same lust that I had before, feeling like I've conquered that. And I think the log was like I wasn't in right relationship with God, and I had this thing that wasn't healed in me, but I was pretending. Like even in my marriage, I was scared that this was going to be a problem, but I didn't share that with my wife, right? Maybe part of the reason she's upset with me now. And like my ability to lead was being blocked. Like I can't, if I'm not open to sharing and healing that part of me, my impact is going to be diminished by the amount of those things I have that I'm not dealing with, right? And I think in being weak and vulnerable and sharing that this is a problem with me, I can heal it and then help men with the specks in their eyes. You know
More people can relate.
Yeah, I think it's about being authentic and real and not trying to present perfection. Mm-hmm. Nobody can relate to perfection, but I think a lot of the time what we get paid for on social media is that image of like, I've got it all put together, I got all the answers, but I'll never have all the answers, but there's things that I do well and there's things that I struggle. And I had a beautiful conversation with my brother 2 weeks ago, flying back from my sister's celebration. First time we've ever been vulnerable with each other. And I feel like in sharing the weak parts, we got more out of the conversation than sharing the things that, like, I can tell him how to do this thing good. Yeah. But when we shared the insecurity and the weakness, I was crying after he left. He flew to Phoenix and I was stuck in Denver, where we flew from Arkansas to Denver. And I'm like bawling at the healing that happened between me and my younger brother through sharing our weakness after, like, a week after reading this verse and being like, I need to be more real about the parts of me that I haven't figured out, instead of trying to hide those and present this.
The ego.
Other. Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful, man.
There's one that I like to teach people from. Like, if you struggle with discipline or creativity, Goals by Brian Tracy. It's like a sales book about setting goals, but I think there also might be some of that, what was that called? The Key, or there's this movement of people, not very Christian movement, but Oprah was part of it. I can't remember, but anyways, goals, like he taps into like just how to train your mind to be super focused. And it's when people would talk about manifesting stuff, it's from that genre or that thought process. But he really shows you some cool techniques to set goals and achieve goals. And my most productive year in my life was 2007, when I was transitioning into health coaching, and I had to get certified all in a short amount of time. And I had read that book, listened to that book twice driving down from Atlanta after I invested my last NFL money into this business. And I was on fire, but I listened to it twice and started applying just the technique. It has this process called mind storming, where you try and you write 10 goals every morning and every night, and that'll shift your life. But if you do this mind storming, where you take one goal and you try and write 20 ways to achieve that goal, something like that, like before you go to bed, and you force yourself to get to 20, because everybody can do 7 to 10, but getting to 20, if that's where the creativity part comes. You'll start thinking about things. Your brain starts working out this problem while you sleep. And that mind storming technique is cool. You'll see that I was the most productive I've ever been. I've never applied it in the same way again, but if I ever needed to, I would highly recommend. So that's my other favorite book, I guess.
Right
Goals
on.
by Brian
Solid.
Tracy.
Solid. Oh man, it was an honor to have you on. You got a powerful story. I got no doubt you're going to have impact on many people. Just continuing to share it forward and being vulnerable. And people are going to learn from your experience, and keep putting God first and letting him shine through you, man. It's beautiful.
Appreciate that. Appreciate being able to tell my story. That I'm in a new space and I haven't been engaging people a lot outside of my little world. So this is a cool, I'm ready to step into sharing more of my story, and I think you created an opportunity for me to do that. So I appreciate the space that you've created. It's taken a lot of work and a lot of consistency, and you having a passion and a vision. So thanks for inviting me on here. And again, I offer you that if you need any support, if I can be a support to you.
Appreciate that, brother.
I'd be glad to help out however I can. So
much appreciated. Thank you.
All right, man. Cool.